Aloha, I'm Susan Jarowski, and I'm here to talk about why you might want to create an interactive syllabus. I'm going to start by telling you what it is, then tell you where I got the idea from, and the largest part of this video is going to be about how I did it, because I think that's going to be the most useful to other faculty. So, what is an interactive syllabus? We're all required to prepare a syllabus, but unfortunately, it's hard to require a student to read the syllabus. Sure, we can add a syllabus quiz to our first week, but sadly, you can tell by some of the answers that even the idea of earning points does not motivate some students to read a document that they think they've read a dozen times before. So an interactive syllabus requires the students to share the stage with you as they go through the document and let you know not what they think about your course, but how they feel about it. Instead of downgrading students because they didn't remember exactly how many points each quiz is worth, for example, the interactive syllabus invites them to share with you their affective side and gives you insight on what they're feeling and how to connect with them better. I got this idea from a great podcast that I highly recommend to you all called Teaching in Higher Ed, hosted by Bonnie Stachowiak. This specific episode featured guest speaker Angela Jenks, who created her interactive syllabi in Canvas and in Qualtrics, expensive software that I don't have access to. Nevertheless, I loved the core concept and decided to adapt it using a tool I did have. So I looked at both Laulima and Google Forms and decided that Google Forms would be the most useful to me as it was easier for me to pull out the data. And I'll show you later on why that was important. So how did I start? I began with an existing updated copy of my current syllabus. I did that for two reasons. First, to ensure that I didn't leave anything out, and second, to provide a static copy that students could print out if they wanted a copy of the weekly lessons, for example, or if they needed it for textbook reimbursement. Then I revisioned what I wanted to know about my students other than whether they read the syllabus. Here's an example. My original syllabus welcomed students into the course and informed them of the 3 ways they can contact me: by email, through the private Laulima forums I create for each student, or through my face-to-face office hours. I did this at the start of the spring semester before we had the option to offer Zoom office hours. So I put this into the Google form, and then I asked the students how they wanted to contact me. I chose this question for 2 reasons. First, it gave them some agency in deciding how to contact me. For many adult learners, agency equals engagement. Second, none of the options were to not contact me. By making them choose between which of the options they wanted, I already started them in the mindset of having a preferred way to contact me with any questions. I already went over the first hurdle. The second paragraph in my original syllabus gave the course description in plain language and then included the SLOs. In the interactive syllabus, in addition to listing this, I asked the students which of the learning objectives they were most interested in. Not only did this start by getting the students engaged in the material, by assuming they were interested in at least one of the SLOs, but it was also interesting to me, as I would not have guessed that SLO 3 would be the most popular. I always try to add something new to the course, and what this question told me that a good place to start by adding additional materials would be to support SLO 3 as the students were already interested in it. The third section of the syllabus went over the asynchronous format of the class. Now I will be switching back and forth between the interactive syllabus for my hybrid class and my online class. So this question from the interactive syllabus comes from the online version. I decided I wanted to help them start with time management skills, which are absolutely essential in an online course. So I included a checklist for the first week of school in which they could plan when they were going to come back to the Laulima page and finish watching the videos, participating in the forum, and taking the quiz. I really got excited by this section, as I hoped by making the commitment on when to study the first week, that would carry over to subsequent weeks. In the online class, the next thing that I wanted to connect with them were the online text message reminders that I provided as an optional resource through the free Remind.com website. I provided the link right in the syllabus, and then I asked them if they were likely to sign up. Notice that of the 25 students who responded, 52%, just over half, said they definitely would, and when I went to the Remind.com website, just over half of the students had indeed signed up for Remind.com. So I think that providing the link and asking them to make a commitment contributed to a respectable sign-up rate. The hybrid class met on Mondays, and in spring 2020, there were 2 Monday holidays within the first 6 weeks. I wanted the students to understand that during those holidays there would continue to be work. It wouldn't be a week off. I had also arranged for the instructor who taught the hybrid section right after mine that he would each give up one of our face-to-face weeks so the other instructor could have a full, special project for each class. So the next question for the hybrid class asked the students if they had put that reminder about the classes in their planners. In other words, hint, hint, you should have a planner. I also asked the hybrid students if they wanted to sign up for the optional test message reminders, and only about a quarter indicated they did, and sure enough, when I went to remind.com, very few students had actually signed up for that. So for the next hybrid class, I will make a stronger suggestion, similar to my online class, that they consider signing up for the text message reminders. I think that helps all students. On the next screen, I would go through the weekly schedule, and I noted for them that I had set up Laulima to drop their lowest forum and their lowest quiz grade. And my question here was not how they felt about the weekly breakdown, but how they felt about the fact that they had a little bit of grace built in. So I asked them if they were intending to do all of the work, or if their schedule was so tight that they appreciated the fact that they had a little wiggle room. This brought to their attention the fact that they could actually get one low score for each of the categories, forum and quiz, and have it not affect their grade. I find that some students are very grade conscious, and I figured that this is a way to decrease grade anxiety. I then went over the grading scheme in detail, and I asked them how they felt about grades. For this question, they could check all that apply. I thought this would be a way for them to be candid about their personal goals for this class. I also wanted to emphasize the fact that this class is not graded on a curve, and so they are not competitors with their fellow students. This helped meet my goal to have students see their classmates as shared learners in a new adventure, rather than contestants on Survivor grimly fighting to be the last man standing. The real kicker was this last question, which asked the students to acknowledge that they realize that their grade depends on them. I wanted to help them develop a sense of personal ownership of their academic work. I also wanted them to acknowledge that there are multiple graded assignments every week, and that they needed to keep up to succeed in the class. They cannot slack off and then try to do a big push once a month to catch up. The content of this class depends on the development of concepts over many lessons, and keeping up with all of the weeks is the key to success. The next section was particularly important for my online students because there is no specific date and time for them to take the final exam, unlike my hybrid students who had a fixed time. Well, at the start of spring 2020 they did. The hybrid syllabus just asks the students whether they have calendared or will calendar the final exam. For the online course, I list their options and ask them to tentatively pick one. At the start of the spring semester, I was expecting that online students would have to take a proctored exam, either for free on campus or for a small fee to Proctor U, so I wanted students to realize that their presence would be required one way or the other. Of course, that all went by the wayside during the COVID-19 situation, but this is something that I would keep for future semesters, as sometimes online students who are used to taking my online weekly unproctored quizzes assume that their final exam would also be unproctored and they could take it from anywhere, such as on a family trip. I wanted them to start thinking of taking their final exam seriously by planning the date early. The last page of the interactive syllabus focused more on how students felt about the online course. I had a first question that focused on the forums. How did they feel about sharing their thoughts with classmates? I acknowledged that some of them might feel a little nervous or even very nervous. I used their comments here to review when I was providing comments early on in the semester, and for the students who indicated they were pretty nervous, I made sure to give them extra kudos in our private Laulima forum, as I told them I recognized that it was difficult for them to do this. So this is a benefit that I got from the interactive syllabus that I never would have gotten from my original static syllabus. In the next section, I asked them to think about 2 important takeaways from the syllabus. I thought it was interesting that students varied widely in what they found most important. There were a number of comments about how they liked the organization, how they liked the fact that everyone could earn a good grade if they applied themselves, and, hallelujah, they recognized the need for weekly work and participation and good time management. Then I asked what 2 questions they still had about the course. I used those questions in my response to their first discussion board, and in some cases, in my first post to their private forums. Again, this is valuable information that I would not have gotten from just giving them my static syllabus, or even necessarily from their first forum, because those first introductory forums are public. This is a way for them to give me personal, private comments that I could then respond to privately. I think this is another of those invaluable benefits of the interactive syllabus. Last, just because I thought the interactive syllabus was a great idea didn't mean that the students necessarily agreed. So I asked them a number of questions about whether they thought this was valuable or not. My goal was to have them say that it was at least as valuable as a static syllabus, or, of course, more valuable. And I was quite pleased to see very positive results. In both sections, only one student disagreed with the idea of using the interactive syllabus in future classes, and everyone else was either neutral or the majority agreed or strongly agreed. So at the end, instead of including my typical syllabus quiz, which I think would detract from this friendly, approachable air I'm trying to cultivate in the interactive syllabus, I simply asked them to include their name if they wanted to earn 3 points extra credit for going all the way through this. All of the students in the online class participated in the interactive syllabus and earned their points, and in my hybrid class, only 4 students did not. So again, the substantial majority did. To sum up, I had no idea when I converted my syllabus that I would receive so much positive feedback from students and so much information that allowed me to reach out to them as a whole as well as individually. I am sold on the concept of the interactive syllabus, and I will be using it in all of my future courses. I created an interactive syllabus template and shared it with Jamie to make it easier if you want to give it a try. My best wishes to you.